Friends, today's NRI Samai program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamai@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Friends, welcome back to NRI Samay. This is Srihari, your host for today's show from Los Angeles. Friends, as you know, Andhra Pradesh is right now affected by the unprecedented cyclone called Hudhud, and there is a great relief effort going on right now. We want to hear directly from one of the main persons who is making this happen, relief efforts happen. He is Dr. Prabhakar Garu. He is the communication advisor who holds a cabinet rank position in Andhra Pradesh government. Prabhakar Garu, welcome to NRI Samay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much for joining. I know you are very busy with relief efforts that are going on, but we would like you to walk through this because there are a lot of people, Telugu people who are concerned about Andhra Pradesh and what is happening there. And also a lot of people are coming forward to do whatever they can. So to begin with, sir, if you can give a status of what is the current situation there.
శ్రీహరి గారు, మీ శ్రోతలందరికీ ముందుగా నమస్కారం. అందరికీ దీపావళి శుభాకాంక్షలు. ఈ హుదూద్ తుఫాను, you have to understand the seriousness and the gravity. You know, the Navy ships and the radar data that we received tell us that at the peak, at the highest point, the speed or the velocity of the wind is somewhere around 270 kilometers. That probably lasted for only about a minute or so. But the average speed of the wind that hit Visakhapatnam was somewhere around 207. So that gives you a picture of the enormity of the situation. The kind of loss is primarily because perhaps for the first time ever in the history, or maybe very rarely, that, you know, such a huge cyclone had directly hit an urban settlement, and as huge as Visakhapatnam, which is an industrial center, which is a huge urban settlement, and you have a port, you have a huge steel plant, and you have a naval establishment, and and an IT hub, and there is an SEZ. It's a huge one. See, the entire brunt was borne by the city. It directly came and hit the Kailashgiri area. Earlier, we had cyclones. In fact, if you look at the history of our Andhra Pradesh coast, since 1891, we faced 78 cyclones. But I can tell you that this is something which is, a class in itself, by itself. First of all, it hit the urban center. The second one, of course, the kind of velocity with which it came. We had lost about 40,000 electrical poles. You can imagine the kind of task that we have at hand in, replacing them, making them stand up again, or bring new ones, and then thousands and thousands of kilometers of wiring, for transmission of the energy and power. And then Visakhapatnam, Srikakulam, and Vijayanagaram, these three districts are very badly affected, the coastal mandals. About 44 mandals are affected. And the conservative estimate is about over 17 lakh people lost their livelihoods, lost their property, heavy damages to their property, and they lost their crops, lost their orchards. It's a very heavy loss. But then let me begin at the beginning. We had an idea that cyclone is about to hit Andhra Pradesh first. And the original estimate was that it might be somewhere around 165 to 170 kilometers velocity. That was what the Met Office and other people were telling us. But then we didn't underestimate the thing. So for about 3 or 4 days, the government of Andhra Pradesh, under the leadership of the Chief Minister, Chandrababu Naidu, we networked with the Navy, we networked with the Met Office, we networked with the NDRSA, the National Disaster Management Rescue Teams. And then we have also, marshaled our own forces, took a lot of care, cut off the power, so that the wires do not fall on houses and people and kill them or damage them. Then, most importantly, we had evacuated and put people in camps, relief camps kind of a thing, much earlier, about 12 to 16 hours before, almost to the tune of about 6 lakhs. 6 lakh people were evacuated from low-lying areas, brought to safer places, and put them in camps. And we have taken care that the children are provided with milk, the elderly are provided with medical care, women are given, special amenities for their, sanitation and other things. The food is taken care of. First aid teams and medical teams were all put in place. If we didn't do this, I really dread to think what could have been the human loss. We could minimize it. At the last count, we had about only 50 people died. That also because, either because of the collapse of a wall or fall of a tree, something like that. Not because, of the cyclone and they were deluged or they were washed away. All that we could prevent. And the Chief Minister had, demonstrated exemplary vision and demonstrated exemplary hard work. We on the day we networked with all the satellite image providers. You see, once something like this hits a country or a region, immediately there's a protocol which is invoked internationally. 13 space agencies are obliged to provide the satellite pictures to us. So all of them looked into that. Whenever their satellites pass through the long-lat, specifications of the area, they're obliged to give us the pictures. So we integrated those pictures. And we ourselves have in the Government of India's website called Bhuvan. That's also very rich in giving us the satellite imagery of the area. And then we also developed an app and put it up. Over 5,000 people have downloaded that app, and we crowdsourced the damages, the pictures of the damages. People uploaded pictures. And we created a mechanism where the uploading, when somebody uploads that, it immediately integrates into the Bhuvan mapping, and we get to know. So that the relief operations could be targeted. Instead of, for instance, if somebody calls up and says that, in Vijayanagaram there is some kind of damage, that is very general. But if somebody uploads a photograph with long-lat specifications, then the rescue teams can, target that area, go there specifically.
Is that a real? Is that something that really happened? I mean, is that an example that you are quoting, sir?
Yes, it happened. It happened at many places, CRER. It happened many places.
I see.
And rescue teams could reach. See, otherwise, in the first 2 days, it was very difficult for us to communicate. And foreseeing that, the Chief Minister had deployed 15 satellite phones in these 4 districts, because East Godavari didn't get that kind of a hit. But these 3 districts had all the satellite phones, and that initially that was the only way we could communicate with each other. Then the roads were, the job of road clearance was taken up. Then, of course, the movement of food was facilitated. I just wanted to tell you this. We were on that day when the cyclone was hitting. We were continuously monitoring from the Secretariat, looking at the screens. It hit around between 11:30 and 12. We had some doubt whether it really hit at that time or not, because our radar in Visakhapatnam collapsed. From about 11 o'clock or so, we didn't get any data from the radar in Visakhapatnam. Machilipatnam was giving us some data, but then we wanted to rely on the Visakhapatnam data. But ultimately, we got to know from the other international agencies that it hit somewhere around noon time, and the velocity, etc. Imagine, after that, we had a review. We, gave direction and instructions to the Civil Supplies Department, to Medical and Health Department, to Energy Department, and all the teams were, we've positioned them a couple of days in advance in those districts. And from there, without even going home, the CM rushes to the airport, takes a flight, wants to go off to Visakhapatnam. But Visakhapatnam airport was completely collapsed. It's completely inoperational. It's blown off. So
yeah,
he could get
that's one of the pictures very hard to digest. I mean, it became a symbolic picture at the airport. It is completely demolished.
That's right, and he could get as far as Vijayawada. So he lands in Vijayawada. Even Rajahmundry Airport, the visibility was only 450 or 500 feet, it seems. And the minimum visibility that you should have for landing of an aircraft, I'm told, is about 4,500 feet. So he couldn't land there. So he landed in Vijayawada, then started by road, and he couldn't cross Rajahmundry on that day and night. So he slept and reviewed in Rajahmundry that late hours. And early morning, he took a chopper and reached Visakhapatnam. Within 12 hours, he was there. And then started the rescue operation. We all followed him. We all went, and we positioned ourselves. And he stayed in the collectorate premises, in the compound of the collectorate, in a bus. He lived in the bus. He lived rough. And he worked maybe 24 hours, and not less than 18 hours or 16 hours a day. Directing people, going around himself, looking at things, giving advice, giving guidance, giving directions, giving instructions.
Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding, and our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Corporate funded media is driven by the TRP rating, and profits are blurring the distinction between news and entertainment. Why do our news channels talk so much about cricket, movies, accidents, popular figures' personal lives, babies of heroines, gossips, etc., while they should be covering the struggles of people, inequality in our society, rural issues, and border security issues? Why did our media raise some corruption crusaders to the sky on one day and shut them off completely when graft charges were raised on those corporate sponsors? Media relies so much on the corporate funding and government blessings that they cannot report independently. NRI Samay is different. We don't accept funds from any corporations, and hence our shows are commercial free. We completely rely on donations from you. Please consider donating to NRI Samay, and please go to nrisamay.com and donate generously. This is the only way together that we can continue NRI Samay. All donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com. And if you have any questions, please write to nrisamay@gmail.com.
Sir, generally, Chief Minister's presence could also bring unnecessary attention, and the security people and all those things. You don't think that affected in any way?
You see, if people and celebrities come there to do the disaster tourism kind of a thing, if they come and they look at it and they go, then you are right, Srihari, that would cause a lot of obstruction to the relief work. But here is a person who is there to work along with everybody else. So actually that really motivated people, that drove people to work and set targets. Because you see, it's very difficult to say whether he started his day or his work at night or in the morning. For instance, we have around 8:30 we used to have a small review of what was happened till then. And then by 9:30, we used to move to the collector's office upstairs to the conference room, sit there, and give access to everybody on the phones, on the conference calls, and who were present there. And then he himself used to go away to Vijayanagaram, Srikakulam, Vizag rural, Visakhapatnam town, inspect things, etc. Then come back around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the night, then take stock of the situation till about 12:30. And believe me, at 12:30 he would go again to inspect. And then come back around 2:30, then have a teleconference, and then sleep around 3:30. Then up again, our work starts at 8:30. This was the kind of mission mode that we worked in.
Sir, just to switch a little bit, I also heard from some people that regions, tribal regions, especially in Paderu area, the roads were cut off, and it was not the government officials were not able to go to certain villages to continue the relief efforts. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, that was true. That was true initially. We could restore a lot of areas, their connectivity by road, by phones, fuel, milk, food supplies, etc., etc. By the third day, except the remote tribal areas, the hilly areas, as you say. From the fourth day onwards, even that is solved. Paderu is connected now, Araku is connected now. The CM himself had gone to Paderu and Araku, spent time with the local people, supervised the thing. And then he deputed a couple of ministers there. The ministers are there, still put supervising the relief operations. It was a huge challenge, especially reaching the small remote villages in those tribal areas, which are hilly areas. That was a challenge initially because the trees that fell are very huge trees. And another thing, Srihari, that I want you to understand is the people who have to do the heavy lifting in this rescue operations. The drivers, the tree cutters, and hamalis who unload the food that is coming from different parts of the state and parts of the country. They are themselves victims. You see, a driver is supposed to drive you to reach a place, or drive the foodstuff to reach a place. He has lost his house, or he's lost his crop, or he's lost his his property, and he's either in the relief camp or he's in the house trying to stand up and get his act together, to look after his family. So it is a huge challenge because the people who are actually supposed to do the heavy lifting on the ground are themselves victims. So we need to attend to them, their houses first, and then persuade them to, please come and, drive this truck. Please come and, cut this tree. Please come and, lift this pole up. Please come and, operate this JCB. Please come and, unload this flight which came with a lot of food from Gannavaram and, Rajahmundry. So that is the kind of work that we had to do. It was a huge challenge. And, it's given the kind of challenge that we faced, bringing near normalcy, especially, in the areas of energy, that is power supply, water supply, and food supply, and connectivity. These areas, it was very, very rapid. In less than a week, we could restore almost 90%. The connectivity is now 100%. Milk supplies are absolutely no problem now. Diesel and fuel supplies are no problem now. Vegetable supplies are no problem now. All essential commodities we dumped. We've got 250 truckloads of potatoes driven from West Bengal to Visakhapatnam. We had almost about 1,000 tons of vegetables dumped in Visakhapatnam, Srikakulam, and Vijayanagaram. And each day we used to bring in about 5 lakh liters, 500,000 liters of milk, and make it available to the people.
Yeah,
while doing all this,
mind-boggling numbers.
While doing all this, we were also doing some kind of a forward planning. You see, what happens is after such a disaster, after the waters recede, after, things calm down, there's a lot of debris, probably there's a lot of cattle which died. Because of this stink and because of the decomposition, you are at risk of communicable diseases. And therefore, what we did a forward planning. We dumped a huge amount of bleaching powder. We dumped a huge amount of, quinine tablets, and chlorine tablets, and all these. And that is the reason why today we don't have any communicable diseases spreading around. So it was, had clear idea of. Because of our familiarity with technology, we networked with the satellite organizations and space organizations. Some idea of what kind of a disaster that is likely to hit Vizag and Vijayanagaram and Srikakulam. We made a lot of preparations. Then, during the relief work, we all went there. You see, the entire government of Andhra Pradesh had moved there. The secretariat functioned out of the collectorate of Visakhapatnam, and Chief Minister's office functioned from a bus, a makeshift office. And after the disaster struck, the kind of relief operations, and then the forward planning of how to prevent the communicable diseases from spreading, and preventive evacuation of people before, and then immediate restoration. The kind of hard work that our energy department had put in Sriharigar is unbelievable. 40,000 poles collapsing, and about 400 kVA big, huge towers collapsing. And hundreds of, 220 kVA towers collapsing. And then, you re-energize them, and you have to check every centimeter of the transmission lines, because if there is some kind of an earthing somewhere, that will lead to a lot of loss of life. If not, when it was not in the during the cyclone. After the cyclone, probably if somebody touches a wire and it is earthing, the house could be damaged, people can lose their lives. So all this was being tested and then re-energized. And the key is power, energy, because if you don't have energy and power set right, then your water pumping will be a problem, your milk production will be a problem, your even diesel and petrol pumping will be a problem. and all host of other things are going to be a problem. So all these things are, set right because and 13,000 men and engineers have worked day and night to accomplish this task in the energy sector alone. And the team that came from Odisha for tree cutting and road clearance, they have done a commendable job. And we've had help from Karnataka. They have sent some engineers to restore power lines. Tamil Nadu has sent men to restore, power lines and tree cutting and other things. And above all, I must say that the people of these three districts, they have, faced this calamity with a lot of courage, a lot of determination, and with a very, very positive attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And but I'm still wondering. I mean, this is an unprecedented cyclone, and also this is a brand new state. I mean, I don't even know whether everybody is in place yet or not. So, the amount of relief effort, in fact, the proactive measures that were taken, also I think unprecedented in India. So
yes.
What is is this the new kind of disaster management we are going to see going forward? Is it just a turning point, or is there something else? Is it just some people coming together and making it happen?
No, I think it's now getting into the system. Actually, if you remember, I must also say this, the Prime Minister himself came in about 24 hours' time. I don't think any other Prime Minister went to a disaster area in such a short notice. He came, he went, he went around. Then he came and had a review meeting with all of us, with the officers concerned and the political leadership which is functioning there. And then he immediately announced 1,000 crores interim relief. While doing that, he also said, look, you have done an exemplary job. Please do document the process, what you have done, how you planned in advance, and what did you do, what kind of challenges you faced, what could have been done even better, and things like that. And then have an expert committee at the state level, and he will have an expert committee at the national level. And both these teams would work together and prepare some kind of a blue book, which could be, the guidebook kind of a thing for the entire country, maybe the world. When a major disaster hits or is likely to hit, what should be the precautionary measures that you take, and how do you act? Which are the areas that you need to concentrate on? What kind of a supplies that you need to, bring together and keep? What kind of a stores that you need to have? And what kind of a measures that you need to, take to protect the health of the people, the lives of the people, and the infrastructure, the urban infrastructure, etc., etc. So I think, Srihari, this is going to be something that everybody, including ourselves, of course, need to draw lessons, document them, so that in any unlikely event of we having another disaster like this, or in India anywhere something like this, or in the world something like this, people should have a ready reckoner kind of a guidebook, which we call a blue book. I think we should work towards that. Everybody should work towards that. And then, if we had taken, say, 4 days to restore something or 3 days to restore something, probably we can think of how to half that time. If we had taken 2 days to restore, say, milk supply, is it possible for us to do it in a day or in a few hours? If we had taken, say, 7 days to restore energy to a particular place, is it possible to do it within 3 days or 2 days? If we had taken time to restore connectivity, say, in 3 days, is it possible to do it in 2 days or 1 day? I think we need to ask these questions and demand more of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we should set very exacting standards.
Yeah.
And then something like this happens next time, our response should be much, much better than this.
Any particular area you have seen, sir, for improvement, just from what you are mentioning? Anything particular that obviously this is everybody has pitched in and did exemplary work, but have you seen anything so far?
You see, if we can do the entire power cabling underground area, we could minimize the loss a lot. Secondly, restoration of energy connections also would be very quick. Since you don't have to grapple with fallen towers and fallen poles and fallen wire and things like that. It's all underground. So what you need to do is to just re-energize the whole thing. That probably, if you can do that, if, we can afford to do the underground cabling of all our electrical installations and then our connectivity, telephone, etc., then I think restoration of power, that's the key. That's the key, actually. And, moving of people, I think we are pretty much in advanced stage. That's not a problem. Cabling is one, and then our construction. I think we need to look at. Probably our airport and things like that. When they do, they have certain specifications. Maybe 70 kmph wind speed, or 100 or 120. But I think for coastal areas, I think we should go up to, why not, say about 300 kilometers. If you do that kind of so we need to look at the structural engineering part of it. We need to look at the architecture point of view. We need to look at how we configure our infrastructure in the sense of underground cabling, ducts and things like that. Then another thing that came to my mind while we were working there is that instead of clearing the roads, waiting until the roads are cleared and then get supplies from West Bengal or Tamil Nadu or Anantapur or Chittoor, that kind of a thing, in anticipation of such things. For instance, we have about 3 or 4 days of advance notice of an impending disaster. What we could do is that we could, at strategic points, create a huge stores of essential commodities so that they could be quickly moved. In the Srikakulam headquarters, or about at the 3 or 4 mandal headquarters, you have supplies stored 3 days in advance. So immediately after the disaster strikes, you don't have to panic and make calls for salt and rice and potatoes and onions and sugar, milk and things like that. You could probably move it from very shorter distances. It's easier for us to do the clearance also. Suppose in Srikakulam and Ichapuram and 2 or 3 other places in Srikakulam district, if stores are already kept there 3 or 4 days in advance, immediately they could reach the people. That is another thing that occurred to me.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I mean, there are a lot of great thoughts behind this, because we are in US and we see these huge cyclones, and especially, for example, the Sandy storm that hit the New York City, or Katrina that hit the New Orleans. Even here it took several days, actually months, to recover. So I think we are in the right track. We're all very happy with how things are going. Obviously, I mean, we would be really happy if this never happened to begin with. But I would like to thank you for your time, spending this time with us. A very valuable time. Is there anything else you would like to say, sir, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just to sign off, I would appeal to everybody, to whatever extent. I mean, it need not be huge amounts also. Please come forward and help the government, help the people. Give whatever you can. Please do. And secondly, think about this and write to us, tell us what we could have done better, how we could have done better. That also, helps us in preparing ourselves in future. The third thing is that, I just wanted to say the kind of leadership that is provided by the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Chandrababu Naidu, exemplary. And the way that the government of AP and the Chief Minister could use technology, could use social media, could use the satellite picture, could go all out and get crowdsourced information. I think this is something which needs to be commended. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, when I contacted the social networking group that AP Disaster Management, I was actually not expecting them to respond back, but I got a pretty fast response, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, we could get our communications act together very well.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for spending this time with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Sriharir.
Bye, sir.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.